மறைந்த தமிழக முதல்வர் செல்வி ஜெயலலிதாவிற்கு சிகிச்சை அளித்த லண்டன் மருத்துவர் ரிச்சர்ட் பேலே தற்போது செய்தியாளர்களை சந்தித்து வருகிறார். நேரில் பார்க்கலாம்.
And here I present to you this the basic reason for this press meet is to dispel some of the rumors that are afloat as to regards what was the treatment given to her, what was her condition during her admission. And so I present before you Dr. Richard Beale, the specialist from United Kingdom who had come to treat our Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Madam Jayalalithaa, and Dr. Babu Abraham, senior consultant in ICU and critical care, to tell to all of you what was the treatment and what was the condition of our former Chief Minister, Honorable Madam Jayalalithaa. I present Dr. Richard Beale to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Balaji. So I'm Professor Richard Beale from London, as I think many of you know, and the purpose of our meeting is really to try and clarify some of the misconceptions that seem to be around about the care of the late Honourable Chief Minister. Now, of course, Dr. Babu and I are physicians. We can only give a certain amount of information because of the necessary confidentiality and dignity that must be respected. And of course there are other processes running here in India which must also be respected. But within those constraints, naturally we will do our best to answer questions. Now, the way we thought this might work is we don't have any prepared statement or anything of that nature, but if you will address your questions through me as if I were the chair of this meeting, then what we will do is one of us will do our best to answer them. And I'd be grateful if we can keep the noise down at the back, please, gentlemen. And if we can make sure we don't have mobile phones on loud at the moment. So could you put your phones to silent if you've got them, so that we can respect the occasion appropriately. Okay, so I'll take questions based on shows of hands. We're going to take as long as it takes. So I'm afraid I don't know any of you, so I don't know which journal I should or shouldn't prioritize. Therefore, it will be potluck where we go. And I think the first hand I saw was over there. Would you say who you are, sir, so that we know who you're representing?
He wants you to introduce yourself.
My name is Bignesh.
Please wait for the microphone.
My name is Bignesh. I'm from Sun News. Yeah. So can we get a timeline on the treatment that was given to the Chief Minister, and what was the exact treatment that was given to the Chief Minister?
So I will pass that question over to Dr. Babu in a moment. But of course, we're not going to go into more than a certain amount of detail for the reasons I've already alluded to. But in broad brush terms, we'll provide the timeline. Dr. Babu.
I think you would have all seen the press releases which came out. She got admitted on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, 22nd of September, about 10:30, and we declared her death on 5th of January 2016. So it was 22nd. December, sorry. I'm sorry about that, December. So 22nd of September 2016 to the last date that I mentioned, 5th of December 2016. And the care was, I can only in one word I can say, it's critical care, supportive care is what we gave her.
I mean, what was the problem she was suffering from, and what was the treatment given?
Okay.
So just so that we don't have multiple follow-up questions and get to everybody, we just need to manage that slightly. But in terms of the problem she was suffering, so I think you are all aware of the sequence of events that she became short of breath at home and became very short of breath, and an ambulance was called and she was brought to hospital. And at that time, the working diagnosis was one of respiratory failure, most likely due to infection. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term sepsis, but sepsis is the term that we use to describe the body's response to a serious infection. Now, when you get an infection, a serious infection, it provokes an inflammatory response in the body. So even when you have removed the source of the infection, whether it's an abscess that you drain or something you treat with antibiotics, that process has to continue and burn itself out. And that process of sepsis can and does cause damage across all the different organs, depending how severe it is. And so the process at work here was an infection resulting in damage to organs and contributing to the shortness of breath that the Honourable late Chief Minister was suffering from. At that time, it wasn't entirely clear what the source of infection was. There were a number of possibilities. The chest and urine were two strong possibilities, but subsequent tests showed that there was indeed infection in her blood. So bacteria were grown from the blood, and that was where the infection was identified and resulted in her general poor condition. And so that was the underlying problem: sepsis, bacteria in the blood, and that infection ultimately also attached itself to her heart, a condition known as endocarditis.
I have a question here. My name is Sandhya Ravishankar.
Okay.
I'm an independent journalist. Sepsis does not set in, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert here, but sepsis does not set in a day or overnight. So does that, am I right?
No, you're not, I'm afraid.
Okay.
So the sepsis can come on extremely quickly. Indeed, in the general sense, the mortality from sepsis is very high, and typically people become unwell in a matter of hours to days, to the stage where they require the appropriate treatment. And the longer treatment is delayed, the more serious the consequences. And of course, if someone has other comorbidities, and it is well known, I think, that that Madam had diabetes and high blood pressure, and so these things contribute to an increased vulnerability for patients when they get severe infections. So it can come on very quickly, and its consequences can be severe. We'll take a question. We'll take a question. No.
He just wants me to translate, sir.
Okay, we'll stop for translation.
அவங்க கேள்விக்கு பதிலா அவர் என்ன சொல்றாருன்னா, அவங்களுக்கு செப்டிசீமியா இருந்தது, சீழின் தன்மை இரத்தத்தில் இருந்ததால், கோமார்பிட் கண்டிஷன் அவர்களுக்கு சர்க்கரை வியாதி இருந்ததாலும் இரத்த கொதிப்பு இருந்ததாலும் இந்த நோய் வெகு விரைவில் பரவக்கூடிய வாய்ப்புகள் உண்டு என்று அவர் சொல்கிறார். அவங்களுக்கு ஷி வாஸ் இன் அன்கண்ட்ரோல் டயபெட்டிஸ் மெலிட்டஸோட வந்திருந்தாங்க வித் செப்டிசீமியா. டாக்டர் பாபு ஏற்கனவே சொல்லிட்டாரு. தி பெஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் ஹஸ் பீன் கிவன் டு ஹருங்க இன் ஐசியூ வித் கிரிட்டிக்கல் கேர் தட் வாஸ் கிவன் டு ஹர். அவங்களுக்கு என்ன வைத்திய ரீதியில் இந்த உலகத்தில் சாத்தியம் இருக்குமோ அது அனைத்தும் மாண்புமிகு முதலமைச்சர் அம்மையார் அவர்களுக்கு செய்யப்பட்டது. சார் எந்த அவங்க இனிஷியலாக ஃபீவர் டீஹைட்ரேஷன் தான் வந்தாங்க சார். அவங்க ஃபீவர்னு தான் வந்தாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் அவங்கள இவால்வேட் பண்ணும்போது அவங்க சுகர் அன்கண்ட்ரோல்டாக இருந்தது. அதுக்கப்புறம் யூரினரி இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் இருந்தது. அது அப்படி செப்சிஸ் கொஞ்சம் அதிகரித்ததால் ஷி வெண்ட் இன் ஃபார் வேரியஸ் கேஸ்கேடிங் இவெண்ட்ஸாக ஒன்றின் மேல் ஒன்றாக அது மேலேறி விட்டது.
So please, can we just first of all maintain the order here? And remember that Dr. Balaji was in a coordinating role, but he wasn't one of the treating doctors. So could we just take another question over there, please? One at a time, please. This gentleman with his hand up, about to have the microphone.
Doctor, my name is Sam Daniel from NDTV. My question is, if you can give a timeline on when did Ms. Jayalalithaa, or when all did she turn unconscious? At any point did she turn into coma stage? And when she signed the Election Commission's papers, was she conscious? And who are the people she was in touch with who are physically interacting with her during the treatment time?
So I'll pass that to Dr. Babu in a moment for the details, but the broad brush is that when she came into hospital with sepsis, infection, as we've discussed, then for a period of time, she was treated with non-invasive ventilation. That's ventilation via mask to the face. And her initial condition improved somewhat. And she was certainly conscious and responding.
I will translate each line.
Okay. And then, unfortunately, as the sepsis progressed and she got more tired, it was necessary for her to go on a ventilator fully, at which point she was asleep. And then later in the course, as she improved, she once more was awake and fully interactive. But Dr. Babu will provide more detail and also in Tamil, perhaps.
Tamil,
yeah.
Regarding the election paper, the thumb impression was attested by me. Myself and Dr. Babu Abraham were in the room. அவர்கள் கை ரேகையை அட்டஸ்ட் செய்த நான், அதற்கு சாட்சியாக இருந்தவர் டாக்டர் பாபு தான். 27/10/2016 அன்று அந்த நிகழ்வு நடந்தது. I read out the letter from the election commission to her. And since there was அவர் கையில் IV fluid சென்று கொண்டிருந்ததால், அதில் கையெழுத்து போட சிரமம் இருந்ததால், கையும் வீக்கமாக இருந்ததால், அது சாத்தியமாக இல்லை என்பதால் அவரது கைரேகை பதிவு செய்யப்பட்டது. அதை நான் அட்டஸ்ட் செய்தேன். அதற்கு சாட்சியாக டாக்டர் பாபு அன்று அவரோடு இருந்தார். ஷி வாஸ் கான்ஷியஸ். நான் அவரோடு பேசினேன். இந்த மாதிரி நான் டாக்டர் பாலாஜிங்க இந்த ஷி ரெட் தி எலெக்ஷன் கமிஷன்லேருந்து வந்த லெட்டரை படித்தாங்க சார். படிச்சுட்டு ஷி வாஸ் since it is not able to sign it, she attested the thumb impression and I introduced and Dr. Babu was also.
During the treatment period. So please, gentlemen, please, we will take.
No, my question was, when did she turn unconscious? If you can give the timeline.
With respect, this isn't going to work if you shout questions at us. We'll take as long as it takes, but I do insist that we do this in a civilized fashion. Sir, you had a question. Will you follow up with your point over there?
He is asked why no photographs have been released of the patient, Madam Chief Minister.
It is absolutely not normal practice to photograph people who are critically ill in hospital, or any patient for that matter, and publish that sort of private and detailed information about someone. It would be regarded, is regarded as an intrusion on their confidentiality and their dignity. And where I practice in London, it would absolutely never be the case that we would allow photography of any critically ill patient and publish their photograph unless they specifically wanted that to happen. And clearly someone who is unwell isn't in a position to make such a decision. And then later, when they recover, then it's a matter for them, but one respects their wishes. So in the general sense, that's why this is not done. But Dr. Babu, you may want to comment because you were involved. Please let him finish.
Doctor, you said she was critically ill, but all along we were told, the media and the outside world was told that she was improving dramatically. You said she was critically ill, but all along that was not the picture that was given or presented. Can you please clarify why?
Both of us are doctors here. We are not policy makers. If you can ask us medical questions, we'll be happy to answer. Unfortunately, we will not be able to answer those questions which are hospital policy or whoever the policy makers are. Please ask us medical questions. We'll try to answer, as Professor Richard Beale said, within the purview of her confidentiality. And you know there's a court case going on, so I will not be able to divulge everything. I can't answer that question of yours because it's not mine. Can I answer Sam, please? So, Sam, I cannot give you finer details or time or dates because I don't have records with me and my memory is not that good. So when she came to us to the emergency room, she was drowsy, but with treatment appropriate, she woke up, she was talking, she was eating, she was interacting with officials for about a week, I would say. by which time, because her sepsis was slowly, making her tired, her breathing was getting worse, she got intubated. That is, a tube was put into her throat so that she will be connected into a big ventilator. So once she was put on a big ventilator, then we had to give her sleeping medicines, because otherwise it becomes uncomfortable for her. So from that time onwards, for about 10 days, she was on sleeping medicines and not able to communicate continuously. But when we remove the sedation and wake her up, she's able to communicate by signs, hands, because there's a tube in the throat. After that, we did a procedure called tracheostomy. I again can't remember the date off my head. After the tracheostomy, usually patients come off the sleeping medicine. They are fully awake. From that time onwards, I would say it would be about 10 to 12 days after we did the intubation, she was again awake and appropriate and communicating by sign languages, and we can lip read her. So most of the medical personnel could understand what she is saying by lip reading. That's how.
And you'll remember that the story was in the public domain, wasn't it, about the conversation I had with her where I said, look, in here I'm in charge, and she said, no, you are. She was still in charge. So she was very much completely aware with it, interacting in that phase. So the point about this is, at the beginning when she was unwell, clearly she wasn't in a position to interact. She improved a bit, deteriorated again, was stabilized, and then later, as she was on a trajectory of improvement, she was very interactive and aware. So that's the reality of this process, and it's entirely typical for somebody who has this sort of situation.
Sir.
Madam at the back with your hand up.
So, what's the reason for sudden cardiac arrest, and did she underwent physiotherapy actually? Because many of the press release quoted that she's taking physiotherapy, and you are telling that she is physically ill and she is giving only sign languages. So how come she took physiotherapy? That and all I have to know.
So I think it's worth understanding a little bit more about what happens in these sorts of disease processes, because a lot of the misunderstanding, I think, is because people just don't, and why would you, understand how things work. So when someone has had this sort of illness and is on the ventilator and then has been stabilized and is on treatment, the process we follow is we wake them up, we try and reduce the support from the ventilator, and we start physiotherapy. We try and start the rehabilitation process as quickly and as soon as we possibly can, because people who are sick lose muscle bulk, they lose strength, and so on. So you want to have them working as much as you can to try and encourage that improvement process. Now, that's managed by the physiotherapists, the bedside nurses, and to some extent the doctors are involved, although it isn't our primary skill set, and supported by the dietitian and all the other members of the multidisciplinary team who help with this. And so all these things go along at the same time. Physiotherapy isn't an all or nothing thing. It starts off very gently. There's that balance between not overstressing the patient, but at the same time making sure they're moving forwards and they're starting to regain a bit of strength. So that's exactly what happened here, in a very focused and skillful and meticulous way. And so she was gradually getting stronger. So to begin with, someone is lying in a bed, and a little later they can sit. Then they can sit on the side of the bed with support, then with less support, then with no support. Then they stand a little bit, then they take a few steps. This is the process, and that process was really going on from very early in her treatment all the way through to her tragic collapse, and completely unexpected collapse at the end. Now, why did that happen? We don't know, except we have a lady of more mature years with chronic diseases, hypertension and diabetes that make you vulnerable to these things, and with recovering sepsis, and who'd had an infection on her heart. So unfortunately, a sudden heart attack or stroke or some other event like this can, and tragically did in this case, happen.
Sir,
It was unexpected.
after the 2 months, why you not?
There's a question over here.
Dr. Richard, there's a...
Please, question over here.
Sepsis with high diabetes and urinary tract infection. Do you believe she should have been brought to the hospital much before than what she was? Did they wait for too long to bring her to the hospital?
So I'm afraid all I can say to you is what I'm aware of after the event. Dr. Babu may be able to comment on the immediate circumstances surrounding her admission, but remember, We, in the broader sense, the team at Apollo, were only involved once she reached hospital. But as far as I'm aware, she became short of breath quite suddenly, and the ambulance brought her to hospital quite quickly. But I'm afraid I wasn't there, so I'm only telling you what I know.
Dr.
Just
Richard,
a second.
I agree with Dr. Richard.
In other circumstances, would a patient have been brought earlier?
See, that's you are trying to go ask me to predict the what would happen. It's very difficult to tell. I can only tell you what happened when she came to. I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer that question for you. Very hypothetical, but very difficult to answer.
sir,
சார், இது 2 மாதங்கள் சென்று ஏன் சந்திக்கிறோம் என்று கேட்டீங்கன்னா, there are a lot of rumors that are going around. To quell it, இவர் ஒரு நிகழ்வுக்காக இங்கே சென்னை வர வேண்டிய சூழ்நிலை இருந்தது. இவர் மோஸ்ட் கிரிட்டிக்கல் டைமில் இவர் அவங்களுக்கு வைத்தியம் பண்ணதுனால் இவர் இருந்து செய்யும்போது இருக்கலாம்ன்றதுக்கு தான் இது. To quell all the rumors that are going around.
Dr. Richard,
and that he is around, the expert is around, so we thought this will be the opportune time, in the time correct irukum அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு.
Dr. Richard, once
Please, gentlemen, there was a question. This gentleman with the microphone.
Yeah, Dr. Richard, I'm Prasanna from Deccan Chronicle. When did you notice infection in the blood, bacterial infection in the blood? And at that time, has the damage been done? And second question, has any amputation been done or transplantation? And what are those marks on her cheek?
With regard to the first question, the normal process when someone comes in these circumstances is to stabilize the patient and then do a wide range of diagnostic tests. And that was what was done by the team at Apollo, and it was that first round of tests that identified the infection in the blood, that process in the first few days. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what you wanted to ask next.
Sir,
Amputation you want.
Has been done already when you noticed the infection in the blood. And second question was, has there been any amputation, and what are those marks on her cheek?
So there was no amputation at all.
No
and the marks on the cheeks, I'm not aware precisely what you're talking about. What I will say is that critically ill patients often have some markings on their face.
No, sir.
Because of the tapes used to tie things. But I was not there, so I will pass that question over.
Sir, there was no amputation done, sir, to your question. No transplantation. 2 questions that you asked. அவங்களுக்கு எந்தவித ஆம்புடேஷனுக்கு கால் எடுத்தார்களா என்று உங்கள் சந்தேகம் இல்லை. அவர் 2 கால்களோடு தான் இருந்தார். No transplantation done, sir. Sir. That is secondary to embalming that was done to her. A professor of anatomy, Professor Sudha Seshan, is also here. She will answer your question on that. Madam, I request you to kindly come to the stage. Embalming was done.
When, sir? When?
On 4th night, sir, at after 11:30. Madam is here. Madam will answer your question. 4th night. 5th. Sorry, madam. 5th. Sorry. I am sorry. It was on 5th December.
Sir, sir, லண்டனுக்கு எதிராக கொண்டு போய் சிகிச்சை பெற வேண்டிய சூழல் இருந்தாங்களா சார்?
Just a moment, please.
Embalming question முடிச்சிட்டு பேசுறோம்.
நெக்ஸ்ட் டே வந்து மேடம் வந்து அடங்கி பண்ணிட்டாங்க. அந்த சிச்சுவேஷன்ல வந்து எம்பாமிங் வந்து
மேடம் உங்களுக்கு பேசுவாங்க சார். எம்பாமிங்கை பத்தி ப்ரொஃபசர் ஆஃப் அனாட்டமி டாக்டர் சுதா சேஷன், டைரக்டர் ஆஃப் அனாட்டமி, மெட்ராஸ் மெடிக்கல் காலேஜ் will answer your questions.
அந்த கேள்வி என்னன்னு கேக்குறீங்களா?
ஜெயலலிதா அவங்களுடைய உடலை பதப்படுத்தப்பட்டதா? எப்பொழுது பதப்படுத்தப்பட்டது? எப்பொழுது பதப்படுத்தப்பட்டது? அதற்கான காரணம் என்ன? 5ஆம் தேதி பண்றதுக்கான காரணம் என்ன?
ஓகே, I'll take one by one. Question number 1, பதப்படுத்தப்பட்டதா? ஆமாம், பதப்படுத்தப்பட்டது. 5ஆம் தேதி இரவு, அதாவது 5லிருந்து 6ஆம் தேதி காலை, அந்த 12:20 midnight 12:20க்கு எம்பாமிங் ப்ரொசீஜர் தொடங்கியது. ஒரு 15 நிமிஷம் அந்த ப்ரொசீஜர் நடந்தது. கொஸ்டின் நம்பர் 2, அதுக்கு என்ன காரணம் அப்படின்னு கேட்டிங்க இல்லையா, ஏன் அதை செய்யணும் அப்படின்னு. யூஸ்வலாக ஒரு விஐபி டெத் அப்படிங்கும்போது பொதுமக்கள் அஞ்சலிக்காக அந்த பாடி வெளியில் வைப்பாங்க. அப்படி வெளியில் வைக்கும்போது நம்ம சீதோஷ்ண நிலைமையில் அந்த பாடி கெட்டு போகிறதுக்கான ஒரு நிலை உண்டு. அண்ட் சுற்றி நிறைய பேர் வரும்போது நீங்கள் எல்லாரையும் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ண முடியாது. பல பேர் வருவாங்க. பல பேர் வரும்போது எல்லார்கிட்ட இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த எல்லாரும் அங்கே சுற்றி நடக்கும்போது தேர் கேன் பி ஸ்மெல், இல்லை அவங்க கொண்டு வரக்கூடிய டஸ்ட், அதனால் வரக்கூடிய கண்டாமினேஷன், அந்த மாதிரி சில பிரச்சனைகள் வரும். அதை அவாய்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்காகத்தான் விஐபி டெத்தில் யூஸ்வலி வென் த பாடி இஸ் பிளேஸ்ட் ஃபார் பப்ளிக் ஹோமேஜ் embalming is done and the same procedure was carried out here also. Sir, embalming for MG Ramachandran, former chief minister, pannirukku sir. In fact, the same Institute of Anatomy, Madras Medical College, in the former chief minister Madam Jayalalithaa embalm panna adhe institution lenda, of course அப்போ இருந்த டீம், அப்போ இருந்தவங்க ரிட்டையர் ஆயிட்டாங்க, இதே இன்ஸ்டிடியூட் தான் அப்பவும் எம்பாம் பண்ணிட்டு. Madam, let me be very, very clear on that. When embalming was done, Thaniya and the 3 dots, I don't remember seeing, I did not see. There were only ecchymotic spots. அதாவது ஒருத்தங்க பெட்டில் ரொம்ப நாள் இருக்கும்போது அந்த ஒரு சின்னதாக டீகலரேஷன் இருக்கும், அந்த மாதிரி ecchymotic spots தான் இருந்தது. What comes out on the public media, the social media, I have not seen because I was the person who was there when the embalming was performed.
So, Mr. Richard, any argument?
And one second, let me finish the answer, please. Can I finish? Yes. நீங்கள் அந்த அதுக்கப்புறம் மேடம் வந்து இன் ஸ்டேட் ஆனர்ஸில் இருக்கும்போது பார்த்தீங்கன்னா யூஸ்வலாக எம்பாமிங்கிறது ஒரு 5.5 liters of fluid will be pumped into the blood circulation and it will replace the blood volume, existing blood volume. ஸோ அந்த 5.5 liters of embalming fluid உள்ளே போகும்போது டிஷ்யூக்குள்ளே பர்க்குலேட் ஆகி எங்கெல்லாம் ஹோல்ஸ் இருக்கோ அங்கெல்லாம் இஃப் தி tissue is very bad, if the tissue is degenerate or something like that, it will start oozing out. நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா மேடமோட பாடியில் அந்த நாஸ்ட்ரல்ஸில் கூட ஊஸ் இல்லை. அதனால் இது எதுக்கு சொல்கிறேன்னா, ஒரு பெரிய ஹோல் நீங்கள் சொல்கிற மாதிரி அங்கே ஒரு ஹோல் இருந்ததுன்னா டெஃபினட்டாக அதில் வந்து ஊஸ் வரும். And there was no oozing anywhere. We were able to complete the procedure in 15 minutes time because we had an automated pumping machine. 15 minutes நாங்கள் அந்த ஃபோர்ஸில் பம்ப் பண்ணும்போது எங்கேயுமே எக்ஸ்ட்ராடினரி ஊஸ் இருக்கவே இல்லை, except for a normal mucosal leak, which is a very normal thing for any individual. அதனால் எங்கேயுமே வந்து ஒரு தேவையில்லாத ஓட்டை இல்லை வேறு ஏதோ இடத்துல கட் பண்ணி திருப்பி ஒட்ட வச்சது அந்த மாதிரியான சிச்சுவேஷன்ஸ் இருக்கிறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இல்லை. From the standpoint of embalming, I am giving you this.
Mr. Richard, see effects from any organ failure.
So, please now, I did ask you all at the beginning, this just doesn't work if everyone's shouting at us. No, now there was a question, you've had several questions. Would you... And you've had several questions. The gentleman with the microphone over here. Sir, I do need to share this out, please.
Sir, December 4ஆம் தேதி எப்பொழுது மாரடைப்பு முதலமைச்சருக்கு ஏற்பட்டது, அந்த நேரத்தில் அங்கே யார் இருந்தாங்க, உயர் சிகிச்சை பிரிவில் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு நோயாளி அவங்களுக்கு அந்த பொட்டாசியம் லெவலு ஹார்ட்டுக்குள்ள அனைத்துமே பார்க்கப்பட்டு இருக்கும். இந்த நிலையில் இதய துடிப்பு திடீரென்று நிறுத்தத்துக்கு காரணம் என்ன சார்?
So I'm just going to ask Dr. Balaji to translate, because the other thing is, just as we must translate some of the English answers to Tamil, it's important that I understand what's being said in Tamil.
I will translate, sir. He wants to know, a critically ill patient who is on the road to recovery, her potassium has been high, and you say she has been into cardiac fibrillation. What steps did you take on that fateful day? That is his question. I think Babu will be the person to answer. Yes, you tell. If required, I will translate. அவர் சொல்வார், தேவை என்றால் நான் மொழிபெயர்த்து சொல்கிறேன். He will handle it in English, I will translate.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Or you can understand English. But you don't want to...
No. There are also Tamil channels. Sir,
Tamil channels, sir.
Right, our பேசுவார் சார், நான் அப்புறம் மொழிபெயர்க்கிறேன்.
I cannot give finer details on that day's treatment because of other confidentiality. But I can assure you that the potassium level was not high on the day of arrest. It was checked in the morning, it was not arrest. She had a sudden cardiac arrest. A team of doctors who were taking care of that was there in the room when it happened. So it was a witnessed cardiac arrest. It is not a non-witnessed, it is a witnessed cardiac arrest.
சார் அந்த முதலமைச்சர் இருந்த அறையில அவசர உபகரணங்கள் அனைத்துமே இருந்ததா? அவங்க வந்து உயர் சிகிச்சை பிரிவிலிருந்து தனி அறைக்கு மாற்றப்பட்டதா சொல்லப்படுது. அந்த தனி அறையில அனைத்து உபகரணங்களும் வைக்கப்பட்டிருந்தது.
அனைத்து உபகரணங்களும் இருந்தன. அவருடன் இருந்தார். அவர் அந்த அறையில் இருக்கும் போதே அந்த நிகழ்வு நடந்தது. So she was immediately resuscitated and subsequently the entire team was at the bedside. Even ECMO was done at the bedside. And subsequently only she was shifted to the OT around 9:30 p.m. All resuscitative measures were done at the bedside in that room. All facilities were available in that room.
Okay, so I'm going to take a question for someone who hasn't had a question, please. You, sir, you haven't had a question. Please, microphone to this gentleman. We will get through all the questions, but let's
just a follow-up question on what was asked earlier. You said about why is this press conferencing happening after 2 months? I just want to ask, were you asked by someone to hold a press conference? Because this was the thing that a lot of the media, most of the media was asking for, coming out and being transparent about what is happening, or at least somebody from the medical team coming and talking to us. So was this press conference today very specifically mentioned to you on your own capacity that you're coming out and giving this?
My question is also something related to that. I think you can
Okay, so we'll hear both of them now, please.
It was earlier told that the press conference is being held to dispel the rumors about our former chief minister's death. But if you had thought it was so important, why didn't you hold this conference, and why were you waiting for his arrival for 2 months? If you had thought that it was so important, you could have asked him to come to Chennai even before this, and could have had all the rumors dispelled even before this.
Because the rumors were because the same rumors were doing the round even 2 months back.
So my question is also related to that.
Okay, so just slow down. So let's have all the question one more time, and then we'll make sure we've got all the points, and then I'll do my best to give you my response.
So my question also related to that. To the Apollo, you have told in the court that all the details or treatment details will be given in sealed cover. So is there any pressure for you hold this press meet and to answer the media people here?
Is there any political there is no political pressure to conduct this press meet, to your question.
Sir, can I make it clear that this press meet is not called by Apollo Hospital?
அரசு சார்பில் நடத்தப்படுகின்ற ஒரு நிகழ்வு.
Doctor, so can I ask a question? Yes. So from my point of view, clearly this press conference has been facilitated by the government, and I have always been willing to come and participate in a discussion such as this within the limits of confidentiality that I have already alluded to, because to be honest, it's been quite upsetting to watch from a distance many of the more extreme rumors that have been going around about things that apparently happened. And so I had imagined it would always be necessary at some point to try and dispel that. And some of you may know that even back at home, I and my office and even my home have been approached about some of these issues, which is unfortunate. As to why it's happening now, this is when the government have chosen to facilitate it and when we're available. And I've been asked to be here, so here I am.
Doctor, to put an end to all these controversies, why don't you release the CCTV footages?
So again, the detail of that would clearly be a response for Apollo, but in the general sense, firstly, you do not have CCT in patients' rooms. Secondly, any information that is there, even if it were to exist, which it doesn't, you would never release. I have explained to you, I think, that you do not take photographs of critically ill patients. Can you imagine if you or anyone you loved or cared about critically ill in an intensive care unit or recovering was being photographed and their images shared? How would they or you feel? We just do not do that. And I cannot understand why anybody here thinks it would be a reasonable thing to do. It's extraordinary.
Doctor,
I have the microphone.
Doctor, I have one.
I'm going to take a question from over there now, please.
Doctor, you said you were always willing to come for such a press conference, and the government called you now. We are asking you this question repeatedly because there is a change in the political situation in the state right now. So we just wanted to know if you were willing earlier to, or you were available only now. Can you please clarify that?
My availability is limited. It isn't possible for me to come just whenever, but clearly I would make time to come as soon as possible when asked. As to precisely why this is the time that I've been asked, that's a matter for others, other than I think that clearly the feeling that these matters needed to be clarified after an appropriate period of time, after the initial grieving and mourning period had passed. More than that I can't say, I'm afraid. I am not, as you know, a native of your state, and the subtleties of some of the things that go on here are not things I pretend to understand.
Dr. Beale, was she...
I'm now going to take a question from over there. You have had several questions. We'll come back to you. At the back there, sir. This gentleman.
My question to you, Dr. Richard. Are you an embalming specialist?
No. No, I'm not. I was rung up at my home to be asked that question. I see it's been reported in some of the media. It's very easy to find out about me. I am a professor of intensive care medicine and a specialist in sepsis with, without being immodest, something of an international reputation. So I am most certainly not an embalming specialist.
Doctor, what is the last thing you spoke with the Chief Minister?
What did you speak to her?
The last thing that you spoke with the Chief Minister?
Gosh, I'm struggling to remember what that would be. But we talked about many things. But we talked about what she liked to watch on the TV. We talked about food. We talked about rehabilitation. I told her about my children. We talked about many things. Which of these was the last, I do not remember. But the point I think I'm getting across is we were having those sorts of interactions. Now, of course, she couldn't speak clearly, but she could mouth clearly. I could understand, and she could signal what she meant. So it was possible to have those sorts of interactions.
Was she cooperating?
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems she said it's a tough court. You said you are the boss.
Yes,
Listening to all that.
I can tell you, it was at a personal level, as she recovered sufficiently to be interacting, it was clear to me what a most remarkable lady she was, and it was a pleasure, a privilege to be involved with her care. I very much got a sense of a strength of purpose and dedication, a remarkable lady. So yes, she was at a stage where, as a newcomer to meeting her, I could get that sort of impression. So she recovered to that way. I have no idea how much the treatment cost.
Dr. Beale, Dr. Abraham, Dr. Abraham and Dr. Balaji, this question is to Dr. Abraham and Dr. Balaji.
Just a moment.
Who else was available there next to her?
Who was there with her on a daily basis interacting with her?
The medical personnel.
Other than the medical personnel?
The family.
The family.
Immediate family,
or can you name the
closer to family?
Family means.
No, not true. She was interacting with her.
Who else was interacting?
I do not know. I do not know most of the people, but
how many people?
Political leaders also came.
No. I'll tell you one thing. Sorry.
Nobody were allowed.
The reason why we ask, sir, the reason why we ask is since you're saying she's critically ill,
Please.
Allowed.
Please. So, please. I think we're getting the sense of the question you wish to ask, but if we could just lower the temperature a bit, we can try and deal with it.
The Chief Minister herself would be personally asked whether she's interested, because as a road to recovery, when she says, we'll ask such and such a big, would you like to meet? She'll say yes or no. It's only such people we have allowed it.
So what about the time? You said for 10 to 20 days she was unconscious.
Yeah. No, she'll say yes or no. She's very clear.
Sir, almost like from what you said earlier, at least 20 days she has been asleep because she was sedated. Where is the question of saying yes or no? Who took the calls then?
See, it's 75 days she was in the hospital.
No, so I'm going by what you said earlier in answer to an earlier question.
75 days she was in the hospital. Out of that, maybe as you said,
20.
15 to 20 days, yes.
She was on the ventilator. No, the earlier phase, around after September 28th.
So
when she was an NIV and then you...
So I just remind you of the process again. When someone is put on the ventilator, to begin with, they're put to sleep completely with anesthetic drugs to make that possible. Then they're gradually woken up as much as is possible whilst keeping them comfortable. with some sedation running. Once a tracheostomy is done, then the sedation is withdrawn completely because there's no longer any need. The sedation is really used just for, if there's any painful procedure, to alleviate the distress of a tube through your throat, which, as you can imagine, is uncomfortable. And so when the tracheostomy is done, that's taken away. And sometimes it's used just to make the interaction with the ventilator easier. And as all those things became less of an issue, then the sedation is weaned right down and then removed. But even when sedation is on, it's often on at a very low level that doesn't prevent someone from interacting to some degree.
Dr. Richard, I have a question for you.
I'm going to go over here next, then we'll come back to this side. So the gentleman in the blue shirt with the microphone.
Doctor, thanks. I just wanted to ask, it's normal procedure for doctors attending on patients in critical care to come out and brief somebody, the closest relative or somebody, on what the situation is. Who were you briefing? What were the updates you were giving them?
So we were briefing Ms. Shashikala on a daily basis, and the government officials, the Chief Secretary, Health Secretary, Health Minister,
secretaries to the Honorable Chief Minister,
ministers, and whenever the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Thambidure, was there, we'd had a daily briefing, usually in Chairman's office with the whole team.
Sir, Balaji sir. Sir, Balaji sir.
Sir, Babu.
Hello. Sir, Balaji sir. Sir,
I think it's my chance now.
Hello.
So listen.
Sir, Balaji sir.
So please.
Was there a
Sir, Balaji sir.
idea?
Please.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் சார் ஆளுநர் பார்த்தாரா சார் ஆளுநர் பார்த்தாருங்களா
ஆளுநர் அவரை பார்த்தார்
So listen, folks, please. If we all shout at each other, we won't get anywhere. Now, there was a question in Tamil which Dr. Balaji was going to translate so that we could try and address it.
Sir, I will turn this side. Sir, his question was...
Dr. Richard, you have questions?
No. Now, I'm really not going to have a conference conducted in this fashion, please. We will answer everyone's questions, but we're trying to deal with something from over. So let's just do each other the common courtesy of just taking our turns.
His Excellency the Governor first visited her, and her condition was explained by the chairman and other doctors. The second time when he visited, he went into the ICU and he was able to see her through the glass door. And Madam Jayalalithaa showed a thumbs up, and which he also has expressed it, His Excellency the Governor.
But Governor told I can't meet our CM. But Governor told I can't meet our CM.
Sir. Okay, so now I'm going to take the question for the gentleman with the microphone in the blue shirt. You, sir.
Our governor told I can't meet our CM. He told as a statement like this, like இந்த மாதிரி நான் கவர்னர் என்ன சொல்லியிருக்காரு, நான் வந்து முதல்வரை சந்திக்க முடியல அப்படின்னு தானே வெளியே வந்து சொல்லியிருக்காரு. நீங்க இப்ப பார்த்ததா சொல்றீங்க, தம்ஸ் அப் காட்டதா சொல்றீங்க.
இல்ல சார், அவர் முதல் தடவை வந்தபோது கீழே அவர் சேர்மன் ஆபீஸ்ல he was briefed about it. The second time when he came, you can even clarify with him very clearly. He has even made the statement. You can clarify with the principal secretary to the governor. You can clarify with him. He has very categorically said that he has gone into the ICU and he found her.
சார், முதல்வர் வந்து இன்னும் 2-3 நாள்ல வெளியே வீட்டுக்கு வந்துருவாங்க, சீக்கிரம் வந்துட போறாங்க அப்படின்லாம் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. மருத்துவ குழுலாம் சொன்னீங்க, எல்லாரும் செய்தியில சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. ஆனா திடீர்னு அவங்களுக்கு வந்து கண்டினியூ பண்றாங்க. இந்த மாதிரி பண்ணதுக்கான அந்த கண்டினியூ பண்ணதுக்கான என்ன நடந்தது அதை சொல்லுங்களேன்.
Dr. Babu, what is his question is, you said she is on the road to recovery. Suddenly, how cardiac arrest ensued and how she deteriorated.
சாம்பார் சாதம் சாப்பிட்றாங்க, இட்லி சாப்பிட்றாங்க, சாம்பார்லாம் சாப்பிட்றாங்க.
What he said is very true. She was sitting up in the bed, watching TV, eating thayiru sadam, all that she did. She was doing physiotherapy, not walking like walking 1 kilometer, getting up from her bed, able to walk few steps. She was very weak, but doing all that. But yes, exactly.
No,
it is true.
Just introduce. That's all.
I can't give you a date, unfortunately.
Dr. Richard, let me ask my question. I think I waited long enough. Let me ask my question.
All right, so now there's a lady over here who is making the point that I've asked her to be quiet twice. So I'm going to give the question to you, madam.
Sir,
No.
Thank you, Dr. Richard. My name is Rohini. I represent a television channel called India Today.
Please, no, I'm going here. I'll come back to you in a moment.
Dr. Richard and everybody there, my name is Rohini. I represent a channel called India Today. My question is, very briefly, can you give us a timeline? I know it's a long time, 75 days, but what exactly happened till the end? Because that's what we'd like to know briefly. Questions have been raised throughout the press conference, but if you can just tell us very briefly, what is the timeline ever since she entered the hospital till the end?
So, I don't know whether I, of course, wasn't there the whole time. Dr. Babu can give you a high-level timeline, which I think he's already done, but we can reiterate those key points as the best of your memory. In all fairness to him, it's quite difficult to remember precise dates for a course like this, but I'm sure he'll do his best.
Sir, ஒரே ஒரு கேள்வி லட்சக்கணக்கான மக்கள்
Please, we're about to hear an answer, sir.
Sir.
No, he's about to speak. Now, please.
So he, the Honorable Chief Minister got admitted, as I said, on the 22nd night. Yes, 22nd of night. She was in the ICU with a non-invasive ventilator till the 28th or 29th, 6 days. Then she got intubated. After intubation, she had a tracheostomy done about 10 days after the intubation. After tracheostomy was done, she was slowly weaned off the ventilator. So she got moved from the ICU to a room when she was off the ventilator, needing ventilator support only during night when she sleeps. Otherwise, she is always only on oxygen. During sleeping period, we put her just to rest her. So she, I can't remember exactly when she was moved to the room. She was moved to the room and this was continued and the physiotherapy was enhanced till the day of the cardiac arrest, which is on the 4th. Do not know is the answer. It was a sudden event. It's a sudden cardiac arrest. If as doctors we could tell why everyone is having a sudden cardiac arrest, it will be very simple, but it is not. It was a witness sudden cardiac arrest that happened in the room.
Yes, sir.
One cardiac arrest. She really had one cardiac arrest.
Doctor.
So.
Bala sir.
ஒரு வாரத்தில் மருத்துவமனையிலிருந்து வீட்டுக்கு சென்றிருக்கலாம்.
Doctor here.
Sir.
Doctor.
So, please. Do you know how difficult it is to have 20 people shouting at you? Now, we're going to go to this gentleman in a moment.
பண்ணாங்க ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் பண்ணாங்க.
So we'll just translate that question, please, so we know
His
what you
question
said.
is, apart from you, apart from the government of Tamil Nadu, apart from Apollo doctors, there were expert opinion from AIMS specialists who had also come, whom you had also interacted. AIMS doctors have given their report to the government of India, and the report concurs with the treatment that has been given by Apollo Hospital.
Doctor, why was her family members Deepa?
Sir, Deepa உள்ள என்ன அலோ பண்ணவே இல்ல அப்படினு சொல்றாங்களே.
இல்ல அப்ப அவங்க தான உறவினர். இப்ப நீங்க சொல்றீங்க குடும்பத்துல உள்ளவங்க
இது beyond medical answer, sir. இது personal question. இத நாங்க ஹேண்டில் பண்ண முடியாது, சார். இது ஒரு personal question, sir.
Doctor.
So, gentlemen.
Family members
listen,
தெரியலன்னு சொல்றீங்க.
I really,
family members யாரா வந்திருக்காங்க, sir.
Please. Now, we
medically
we are here to try and help, but really, there's no point in this conversation if you're going to shout at us. Now, as to what was your question, please? One question.
Why was her family member not allowed? Deepa, I mean, she's a blood relative.
So that is not a question I can answer, I'm afraid.
Balaji sir.
Doctor here.
Sir, one question, sir.
Doctor here. Doctor here.
The vara sir.
Not a question I can answer. Right. Yes, all right, madam. Yes. So the issue of transferring to London was discussed at great length and kept under review. Now, the issue of transferring a critically ill patient is always a balanced one, because there clearly are risks to transfer, particularly a transfer of that distance. Having said that, you can move nearly anybody if you put enough resource and effort into it. So it's always a risk-benefit. The question is, is there some particular treatment that can be provided in the place you're going to that is not available in the place you're coming from? The facilities at Apollo are first rate, the team was highly expert, and it was being reinforced with extra opinion, as you've heard. So although we discussed this at considerable length, our view, our shared view, was that in that early phase, when she was on the ventilator and unconscious, that the things we were doing were going in the right direction, and that risk-benefit balance did not justify a journey of that length with the risks associated with it. However, we kept it under review. Later, of course, she was awake, and by then it was very clear that she herself did not wish to move. Once she'd woken up and was interacting as we've described, and it was obvious to me, and I'm sure you all know, there is no way we could tell the Honourable Chief Minister what she should or shouldn't do in this regard. So it became a matter of her choice, not ours. But that's how it worked. So I'm going to take a question from over here. Gentleman with your hand up, please.
Can you please explain your last moments?
You are not. You are not.
So,
he died of cardiac arrest. Sir, immediately it was explained that immediately the protocol was followed. And actually, what there is an opinion that it was delayed. The announcement was delayed. By 5:30, television channels began flashing that she was no more. At that point in time, can you please explain what happened?
Basically, he's asking whether she died earlier than the time
Dr. Babu, you're taking it?
Yeah, okay. She had a cardiac arrest around about 5 o'clock. As I said, there was medical personnel in the room, so it was a witnessed cardiac arrest. The cardiac CPR was started immediately, and the team, the ECMO team, was informed immediately. The on-call cardiologist who was in Apollo Hospital came down within a few minutes. He's on the same floor as that's just above floor.
The room where she's admitted.
Yeah. So CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation was done immediately. It's not like it is a witness cardiac arrest. So CPR went on for about 20 minutes, and we didn't get a heart rhythm. That is when the decision was taken to put her on ECMO. So she was put on ECMO. Once you put a person on ECMO, we have to give them some time, at least 24 hours, to say whether it has worked or not. So that is the time that we gave to see whether the heart will restart or not. And at the end of 24 hours, when we reassessed her, there was still no own heartbeat. Only the ECMO machine was working. Then we realized that it was futile to continue care. And this decision was taken in consensus with all the doctors who were treating her, including the All India Institute medical team who had come down the previous day.
On 3rd.
Yes, and it was a collective decision that it is futile to continue therapy. That was then relayed to the government officials, senior government officials, and the family, and then we stopped the ECMO.
Doctor, I have a question for you.
Sir, one question, sir.
Doctor,
Balaji, sir.
So I think I've made it clear that we are going to have some discipline in this meeting. So can we please? We cannot hear the questions if you all shout. So now.
So one question.
Doctor.
Sir, our senior doctor, ஒரு கிளாஸ்மேட்டை கூப்பிடுற மாதிரி என் தலையை பார்த்தாவது நீங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும், நாங்கெல்லாம் வயசானவங்கன்னு. அட்லீஸ்ட் இவங்களாவது இளமையா இருக்காங்க. ஏய் ரிச்சர்டுனா அவர் நம்ம விருந்தினரா வந்திருக்காரு, கொஞ்சம் ஒரு சகோதரருக்கு ஒரு மரியாதை இருக்கணும்னு நான் நினைக்கிறேன். சொல்லுங்க சார், சொல்லுங்க பிரதர். சார் இனிஷியலா அவங்க ஃபீவர் டீஹைட்ரேஷன் தான் வந்தாங்க சார். அதுக்கு அப்புறம் there was progression of events in her.
சார் இன்னைக்கு எல்லாரும் மருத்துவ குழுலாம் சந்திக்கிறீங்க. அந்த ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் நடந்தப்போ எந்த டாக்டருமே யாரும் எந்த டீமையும் என்ன நடக்குது ஏது நடக்குது சொல்லல. இன்னொன்னு லட்சக்கணக்கான மக்கள் அப்போலோ வாசல்லே காத்திருந்தாங்க. கோடிக்கணக்கான மக்கள் என்ன நடக்குதுன்னு தெரியாமே இருந்தாங்க. ஆனா அவங்களுக்கு முறையாக இந்த மருத்துவ நிர்வாகமா இருந்தாலும் சரி, மருத்துவ குழுவாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, தமிழக அரசா இருந்தாலும் சரி, முறையாக நீங்க அதை நடந்துக்கிட்டீங்களா? அது மாதிரி பல கேள்விகள் இருக்கு. இதுக்கு வந்து நீங்கள் என்ன சொல்ல போகிறீங்க? ஒரு விட்னஸே இல்லைன்றீங்க, சிசிடிவி உள்ளே வைக்கல அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறீங்க. நீங்கள் இந்த ப்ரெஸ் மீட் கொடுக்கறதுனால மக்கள்லாம் இதை நம்ம அவங்களுக்கு எழுந்த சந்தேகத்துக்கு என்ன தீர்வு, எதை சொல்லி நீங்கள் வந்து இது இப்படி தான் நடந்தது அப்படின்னு ப்ரூவ் பண்ண போகிறீங்க?
Please, I'm not going to ask Dr. Balaji to translate that so I understand what the question is.
The question is, will this press conference settle the issue that is raging? What was the treatment given to her and what was the disease process? And was there frequent bulletin? Was there, did the treating doctors meet the people who are waiting outside and discuss with them or tell them what was there? Whether bulletins were issued?
So
that is the question.
I think there are a number. Please. There are a number of separate issues here. Now, you know, I am not from here. I'm completely independent. I was asked to come and provide some help. I was not there for everything that happened, and there are elements of detail that I cannot possibly answer. However, I have a pretty good idea of what the process was. I was there to a large degree at the beginning, and during the period of time that I wasn't, I was in touch from a distance. And I can tell you that the process of care that was followed here was perfectly straightforward. There was no conspiracy, nothing strange happened. As you have heard, she got a severe infection. It was in her blood. It affected her heart. She became acutely unwell. She was brought to hospital. Her condition was stabilized and improved for a while. It then deteriorated again. She was put on a ventilator. She had a lot of supportive care with a lot of input from many doctors. She started to improve. She had a tracheostomy. She was woken up. She continued to improve and have increasing physiotherapy and was doing well and looked as if she was recovering. And then she had an unexpected catastrophic cardiac arrest, as you have heard, and tragically died. That is what happened here.
Doctor, one question.
Right, I'm going to take a question from the lady with the microphone, please. And would you just say who you are, please, madam?
Dr. Richard, you are a...
Sorry, where are you from, madam?
I'm from DD News. I'm Aisha. I'm from Doordarshan. I'm Aisha. Dr. Richard, you are a renowned doctor and you're known across the world. And today you're sitting here and justifying the treatment you have given to one patient. Have you come across a case like this in your life earlier? And still the replies are unconvincing, you know. Why is it that, somebody like you who has treated a patient, but still you're justifying this case, and even the replies are not convincing to the people. So what is your experience out of this entire case? How do you look at this entire experience of handling this case?
So madam, what is it that we're saying that's unconvincing? Just help me with that, please.
So there are so many questions arising. There are sub-questions arising. What happened in the last few days? There's so many things you answered. Even then there are questions related to that. So have you ever justified your patient like this before in your life?
So I, of course, have. This is a most extraordinary situation. If you ask me, though, have I seen exactly this happen in patients, this course of events happen? Yes, many times. Of course, to be put on the spot to justify in this fashion is very unusual. But to have this conversation with a family after someone has died and explain as best one can and try and have them understand the sequence of events, that it takes a while sometimes for people to deteriorate as much as they're going to, so they rally a bit, then they get worse, they go on a ventilator. That when you have sepsis like this, the process of recovery is long and slow. It isn't an on-off thing. To describe and have them understand this gradual process we have shared with you today, and then if there's a tragic ending, as there was in this case, to have them understand that these things do happen unpredictably in patients who have had the stress of a severe infection that's affected their heart on the background of chronic illness. There is nothing, unfortunately, unusual about this case from a medical perspective. What's extraordinary is that it's an extraordinary person we're talking about, and hence this interest. But the nuts and bolts of the medicine here and the care are perfectly straightforward.
Dr. Beale,
We're going to go over here to this lady. And I will say there is only a limited value in going around the same questions time and time again. So I'm only going to take questions that we haven't already addressed.
Okay. While considering a case, Honorable High Court, Madras High Court was observing that if suspicions are being raised, then why don't we exhume the body of late J. Jayalalithaa? As a medical team, anyone in the medical team, how do you react to such an observation?
I would say it's ridiculous.
Sir, Doctor, can you please take my question?
Dr. Beale, my question to you. One of the politicians, Mr. Vaiko, he said he came and collected your visiting card. Did you give your visiting card to him?
I did have the privilege of meeting Mr. Vaiko, and of course I'm very happy to give people my card if when I meet them.
Doctor,
I'm going to take a question from the front here. There's no question at all about poisoning. I really don't know where this came from, but and if anyone with an understanding of the detailed care that goes on in an intensive care unit and the fact that everything was looked forward realised how silly that is. It's clear what the disease process was. There's nothing mysterious about it. And she was looked after and monitored in the highest fidelity, and the poisoning thing is nonsense.
Doctor, what were the interactions you had with Mrs. Sasikala?
Dr. Beale, I have a question which is not
correct for her diabetes before she was admitted, because there was a lot of speculation that some medicines did not act correctly on her.
I have no knowledge of what happened before she was admitted.
Can you tell us what her vital signs were like when she arrived at the hospital? Was her, you said her diabetes was uncontrolled?
I'm afraid we've given as much information, as much detail as we're prepared to give on that.
Doctor, your interactions with Mrs. Sasikala Natarajan.
I'm going to go over there, please.
Was a apnea test done before you finally decided to declare? Was that necessary?
No. Okay, let me clarify that a little bit.
Because
she had a cardiac death. So once someone has a cardiac death, that's death. So we don't have to do apnea test at all. She had no heartbeat.
So that's some of the rumors that were going around. So I just wanted to...
Doctor, your interactions with Mrs. Sasikala Natarajan, any of you can answer this.
Sorry, say it again.
Your interactions with Mrs. Sasikala Natarajan.
Yes, so I met Mrs. Sasikala on a number of occasions. Both as the close friend and confidant of the Honourable late Chief Minister, and when she was in the room and elsewhere. I can say that she was present much of the time and was closely engaged in the care in a very caring and supportive manner.
Sir, Balaji sir. Sir, Balaji sir. Sir, பிரேத பரிசோதனை செய்யப்பட்டதா சார்?
I'm going to
பிரேத பரிசோதனை செய்யப்பட்டதா?
to this gentleman who has his hand up here.
பிரேத பரிசோதனை சார்.
Please.
ஃபியூச்சர்ல வந்து விசாரணைக்கு அழைத்தா
Sorry, sir. I'll come to you in a moment. I'm going to this gentleman. So I'm afraid we're not prepared to go into that level of detail, except to say that the infection was identified and the antibiotic therapy was appropriate.
Sir, Balaji sir.
No, I'm going to go to the gentleman over there who I promised to come back to. Sir. No, the gentleman behind you.
சார், இன்னைக்கு தமிழ்நாட்டில் எல்லாருக்குமே இருக்க சந்தேகம் என்னன்னா, முதலமைச்சர் வந்து முன்னாள் முதலமைச்சர் வந்து டிசம்பர் 5ஆம் தேதி இறக்கல, அதுக்கு முன்னாடியே இறந்துட்டாங்க, அதுக்காக தான் பதப்படுத்தப்பட்டதுன்னு சொல்லி மக்களோட சந்தேகம். இதை வந்து அரசாங்க சார்பாக நீங்கள் பிரஸ் மீட் வச்சிருக்கீங்க, உங்களுக்கு தெளிவுபடுத்த வேண்டியது உங்களுடைய பொறுப்பு. ரெண்டாவது கேள்வி என்னன்னா, மருத்துவமனை சார்பாக என்ன சிகிச்சை கொடுக்கப்பட்டது அப்படின்ற பிரஸ் ரிலீஸ் வந்து நிர்பந்திக்கப்பட்டு கொடுக்கப்பட்டதா? அந்த மாதிரி ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் வந்து இது வரைக்கும் கொடுக்கல, நிர்பந்திக்கப்பட்டு கொடுக்கப்பட்டதா, இல்லை மருத்துவர்கள் வந்து அவங்களுடைய சுதந்திரமா ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் கொடுக்க முடிஞ்சதா, இல்லை ஏதாவது ப்ரெஷர் இருந்ததா?
அவங்க சுதந்திரமாக தான் அவங்களுக்கு வைத்தியம் செஞ்சாங்க. அவங்க இறந்தது 5 டிசம்பர், அதற்கு முன்னால் அல்ல. வேற என்ன சார் கேள்வி? டாக்டர் பிரதாப் ரெட்டியின் பேர குழந்தைக்கு இன்னைக்கு இந்த நாளைய மறுநாள் திருமணம், அதனால் அவர் வரவில்லை.
Doctor, I have a question.
So,
just one question.
Can I just, gentlemen, now listen, please. Let me say something. We've been going now for an hour. I think we've covered most of what we want to say. If there are any please let me finish. I will just hear one or two last points not shouted, and then we will deal with them if we can, and then we will be closing. You, sir, who are you and where are you from, please? Would you use the microphone, sir, so everyone can hear you,
On
please?
December 5th, by 12 o'clock, you wrote a letter to the Apollo Hospital and open letter to the public.
Yes.
You are unable to do the treatment to the Madam Jayalalithaa. So you become finally to find out that she will be no more on the day?
The sequence of events at the end, of course, when I had been in touch, even though I wasn't in Chennai at that time, with the team, and we'd been talking about ongoing care matters. When this event happened, I was informed, although I couldn't get to Chennai in time to help with the care, just because of the realities of the travel distance. I was participating remotely as one of a number of people trying to give advice and make sure the right things were done. So I knew what was happening. I released my statement because so many people were approaching me. Like everyone, I was surprised. It was out of the blue, the collapse. It was a tragedy when we thought she was on the road to recovery. As I said in my statement, absolutely everything that could have been done in any hospital in the world was done. The Apollo team did a tremendous job with immediate resuscitation and providing ECMO. Most hospitals would not be able to do that, and they did it, and they did it exceptionally well.
Professor, just one question.
The truth is, though, when patients have cardiac arrests and end up needing ECMO, the outcome is very poor. She was then maintained on the ECMO circuit to see whether the heart had a chance to recover and start beating again. It did not. And then after an appropriate period, the futility of the situation was accepted. That's what happened. But I couldn't be here in time, I'm sorry to say, but had I been, there was nothing I could have done. Everything that could have been done and should have been done was done. I will take one final question.
Professor, here,
I'm going to go.
Just one. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take two then. One from you and one from you, and then we're done. Sir.
From me. Okay. Professor, I just wanted to, just taking off from where you left, as far as the ECMO machine is concerned, isn't it normal practice that you ask the patient's closest relative or somebody to take a call on whether this can be, it is futile, so whether a call can be taken on stopping the ECMO support to a patient? Isn't it normal practice to ask a personal relative?
Precisely how this is done is different in different places. Dr. Babu will talk to how it was done here, but in the general sense, what is done, because this is a highly technical issue, is that the ECMO is run, a whole range of tests are done and manipulations done to try and give the very best opportunity for the heart to recover and also to assess the rest of the bodily functions. At some point, if it becomes obvious that this is futile and recovery is impossible, then a decision is made to stop. This is communicated and shared with appropriate close family relatives, and then things are stopped. That's the general way it's done. That's how it would be done in my hospital. Obviously, I cannot speak to the precise details of how it was done here, although I imagine that was the process that was followed. Dr. Babu may wish to comment.
That's exactly the way we did. A medical decision was taken after examining that it was futile. That was communicated to all the senior secretaries in the government, ministers who were there, and to the family. And no, the decision was ours. Decision was the medical decision. That was an information that was given.
So I'm going to take one last question.
Technically, treatment bill is about 5.5 crores, sir. Around 5 to 5.5 crores.
So, I am going to
treatment
take...
bill, sir, 1 minute, sir. Regarding the bill, it is about 5 to 5.5 crores, sir. The bill has been handed over to the family. The payment will be made by the... ஆமாம் எங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சது நாங்கள் அந்த ஃபார்ம் பண்ணும்போது அவங்கள நாங்கள் போய் பார்த்தோம். அந்த ஆமாம் அந்த மாதிரி நடந்ததா இல்லை. Was there any, sir, Dr. Babu, was there any, 1 minute madam, was there any situation where you felt Madam Jayalalithaa madam did keep any thumb impression anywhere? No. To our knowledge, no, sir.
No. Right, I'm going to take the last question I promised, sir. Please, the gentleman in the green shirt, I am not going to be shouted at. So I'm going to take this question from over here, please.
Doctor, thank you. My question is, when was the last time Ms. Jayalalithaa spoke? And she was in ICU for more than 75 days. Was there at any time a plan to move her home, to treat her from home? And was there an attempt to deliberately keep her indefinitely in the ICU also?
I'll pass that over to Dr. Babu, other than saying the trajectory that was planned was ICU, then room, then when off the ventilator, completely and sufficiently rehabilitated, home, or maybe to some form of rehabilitation outside hospital. But tragically, we never quite got to that stage. But he will speak to the detail.
So, to answer your question, she was speaking till the time she had the arrest. Just before she had the arrest, she said she was feeling breathless. That's why I put her back on the ventilator. And so till last minute she was doing that. The other question is the plan. No, that was in the process of being planned. As our chairman had said, she could be sent home anytime she wanted, provided we were able to set up everything at home. So people who are taking her home need to be comfortable taking her home, to have the physiotherapy, nursing care provided. So we were working towards it. You know, I was made to believe that things were being done at home to get it ready. So, yeah. So she had finished the physiotherapy. She was tired. She was lying down after the physiotherapy. That time she's the doctor by the side. She said, "I'm feeling a bit breathless." She was only on oxygen. The doctor who was there. Okay, so the doctor put her on a ventilator because she said she is feeling a bit breathless. Okay, even after putting on the ventilator, her breathing did not settle, so we did some changes on the ventilator. No, there are a lot of medical personnel were there. I don't deal with the bill. Sorry, ma'am, I don't deal with the bill.
Right.
Apollo Hospital told me that the bill comes to about... Sir, I was told that the bill comes to about 5 to 5.4 crore approximately. This question can be addressed to the CEO of the hospital, sir. I inquired this and came here. But whether it has been handed over, I was told it was handed over to the family, sir. The CEO of the hospital will be in a correct position.
So,
sir, I will clarify it with the Apollo management and come back to you and answer, sir, because I am not aware to whom it was handed over.
So,
when we again meet, possibly
right.
When we again meet.
This, I'm afraid you are asking questions that we've made clear we cannot answer. We are only able to answer the medical questions because those are the only things we have knowledge of and within the parameters I explained at the beginning. Now, I think you will agree we have given our time and answered as fairly and honestly as we can for what I have to say has been quite a difficult experience.
The last question, sir, shall we wind up the meet?
All right, then this will be the this will be the very last question and we will not answer another one. Sir, use your last question.
I didn't get you.
No, sir, you are often mentioning about word confidential. So what is to be so often confidential? This can't be even revealed in the press meet like this.
Okay, can I ask you a question? If you fall sick, come into the ICU, would you like every detail of your illness to be told to everyone? No, I don't think so. To say that this is going, that is fair to anyone, whoever it is. But whatever is available in the public domain, we have answered that. I don't think I can tell you more than this because, as I said, her privacy I have to respect. Second, there is a court issue going on too. So based on these two, I cannot say more than this. Whatever is in the public domain, we have explained that.
So there we are. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And now we must conclude. Okay, we will take the embalming question, but that's the only question.
I'll go through the entire process. I'll tell you what all happened. Now, am I allowed to speak? தமிழ்ல சொல்லணும்னா தமிழ்ல சொல்லிடுறேன். Both okay. Okay, fine. See, after the former Chief Minister was declared dead, I received a call from both the Secretary for Health and the Health Minister saying an unfortunate incident has happened, and I was asked to move my team for embalming. And the team is always in place because we do get private embalming calls and voluntary body donations at Madras Medical College. So I called up my team. I asked them to move to Apollo Hospital, and I moved separately because I live in Krompet. Many of you might have seen me walking down the Greaves Road that night. I went to the hospital. My team was already in place. We followed the normal embalming procedure. Normal embalming procedure gardu femoral artery la naanga catheter போட்டு அது வழியா 5.5 liters pump in பண்ணுவோம். அதே மாதிரி தான் ரைட் femoral artery ல தான் we did the embalming procedure. எங்கேயுமே லீக் இல்லை. But before starting the embalming, of course, I did check everywhere because we need to check. ஏன்னா tracheostomy பண்ணியிருக்கு, femoral punctures பண்ணியிருக்கு, அதையெல்லாம் நான் செக் பண்ணணும். செக் பண்ணினேன். நீங்கள் சொல்கிற இந்த இப்போ நீங்கள் காமிச்ச படத்தில் இருக்கிற அளவுக்கு டீப்பாக அவ்வளோ பள்ளமான டாட்ஸ் இல்லை. இங்கே 3 இருந்தது. இன்னொன்று நீங்கள் நோட் பண்ணியிருக்கலாம், அவங்களுடைய உதடு கொஞ்சம் தடிமனாக தெரிஞ்சுது, which is not the normal. Knowing Madam Jayalalithaa for many years, அவங்க உதடு தடிமனாக இருந்தது. ஆனால் ஆஸ் அ டாக்டர் ஐ குட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் அது எதனாலன்னு. ட்ரெக்கியாஸ்டமி போடும்போது இங்கே ஆங்கர் பண்ணுவாங்க போட்டு, அதர்வைஸ் இட் வில் ஸ்லிப் டவுன். சேம் வே ட்ரெக்கியாஸ்டமியில் சில சமயத்தில் வெண்டிலேட்டர் போடும்போது இப்படி போட்டு அதை கிளாம்ப் பண்ண வேண்டி இருக்கும். அந்த கிளாஸ்ப் வந்து நிச்சயமாக யார் வெண்டிலேட்டரில் இருந்தாங்களோ அந்த மாதிரி வெண்டிலேட்டரில் இருந்த பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் உதடு தடிமனாக தான் இருக்கும். ஸோ ஐ ஒன்லி சா தீஸ் இவ்வளோ டீப் டாட்ஸ் இல்லை. தெர் வர் 3-4 டாட்ஸ் ஹியர், எக்கிமாட்டிக் டாட்ஸ், விச் ஐ டோல்ட் யூ ஏர்லியர் ஆல்சோ. அந்த எக்கிமாட்டிக் டாட்ஸ் ஐ ஒன்லி தாட் ஓகே ட்ரெக்கியாஸ்டமி இங்கே ஆங்கர் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, ப்ளஸ் இந்த வெண்டிலேட்டர் இப்படி கிராஸ்பாக இருந்திருக்கு அப்படின்னு பார்த்துட்டு everywhere else I checked and we started the embalming procedure. And to repeat whatever I've told you, embalming பண்ணும்போது the whole process took about 15 minutes. Femoral நாங்க right femoral. I'll also tell you for those of you who may not know the procedure, right femoral நாங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது ரைட் சைட் லெக்குக்கு ரைட் femoral டைரெக்டாக போட்டால் அந்த சர்க்குலேஷன் ரைட் சைட் லெக்குக்கு கிடைக்காது. ஸோ ரைட் சைட் லெக்குக்கு மட்டும் தனியாக முதல்ல பண்ணிவிட்டு which took about 3-4 minutes, after which we started pumping it through the entire body. Through the entire body பண்ணும்போது except for mucosal leaks, வேறு எங்கேயும் கொஞ்சம் லிப்ஸில் கொஞ்சம் nostrils-ல there were mucosal leaks. That apart, there were no other leaks. The color did not change. Of course, embalming fluid அங்கே தான் போய் மிக்ஸ் பண்ணினோம். அப்படி மிக்ஸ் பண்ணும்போது instead of using the normal formalin, ஒரு 2.5 liters formalin போடுறதுக்கு முன்னால் we used a little isopropyl alcohol because madam அவங்க காம்ப்ளெக்ஷன் எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும், பிங்கிஷ் காம்ப்ளெக்ஷனுங்கிறதுனால ஃபார்முலினை ரெடியூஸ் பண்ணிவிட்டு ஐ டுக் அ டெசிஷன் ஆஃப் யூஸிங் மோர் ஐசோப்ரொபைல் ஆல்கஹால். திஸ் இஸ் வாட் ஹேப்பன்ட் and I will not be able to answer why the dots are appearing much deeper in the social media. எனக்கு 11:35-36 அந்த டைத்துக்கு ஒரு ஃபோன் வந்தது சார். எனக்கு ஹெல்த் மினிஸ்டரும் ஃபோன் பண்ணாரு, ஹெல்த் செக்ரட்டரியும் ஃபோன் பண்ணாங்க.